What's up, Bulldogs? All right, so I want to talk about perhaps the most important lesson that I've learned from this whole experience of tearing my bicep tendon and my quad tendon, going from doing 75 hard and being on day 63 to having to fail, right? Not something I expected. I did not expect to fail 75 hard, certainly not for this reason. Having to go through the surgery, going from running and being, the guy that does physical fitness stuff to having to sit on the couch and being incapacitated, for a long time. It's going to be before I can really get back to my heavy training again. And so I think that the biggest thing that I've really learned from this whole process is that it's not what you do. It's not running the marathons. It's not building the physique and getting jacked that matters. It's getting up every day and pushing through the pain and doing the hard stuff. That's what really matters. And that's what no one can take from me, because I was so afraid of losing my fitness. I was afraid of losing my ability to run and the fitness that I had built, and losing the time and losing parts of my physique that I've been working so hard and doing 75 hard. And what I realized was that it's not about those things. It's not really about that. It's not about some time that I got in a marathon or my ability to run, right? Because those things are kind of arbitrary, right? What does it matter that you can run at a specific pace or for so long, or that you can lift a certain weight? Those things don't really matter. It doesn't even really matter necessarily what your muscles look like, right? So what does matter, though, is that you push through the pain, that you make progress wherever you're at, and you do that. That's what matters. And I've realized this as I've been, trying to do what I can. Like I said in my previous video, I'm walking with a cane now. It's been 5 days. All right. And I know some people are like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm not going to take any unnecessary risks, but I'm able to do this now. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I went in for surgery 5 days ago and I'm walking with a cane, right? I don't think many people can say that they've done that. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm able to push through the pain. And I know how that sounds. I'm not putting myself at risk by pushing through the pain, right? I'm not bending my knee or anything like that, or putting any kind of pressure on the tendon that could cause it to re-rupture or cause damage or slow down the healing. I'm not doing anything stupid, okay? But what I have realized is that what I am doing is that I'm doing what needs to be done, right? Like today is no painkillers. As soon as I figured out that Advil, that ibuprofen would slow down the healing process, I said, all right, then I'm not going to do that. I'm on no painkillers today after the 5th day. And in fact, yesterday I was pretty much on no painkillers on the 4th day. And and that's what I have the ability to do. I can force myself to do the uncomfortable thing. To push through pain, to do what needs to be done to make progress. And that's what matters. And ultimately, no one can take that from me, right? So even if I am on this couch and I have to hobble around on a cane, I can make progress in that. I can become better at that. I can keep on pushing through, and I can celebrate those achievements. And, that's something I think I lost sight of, right? Because it was real easy for me to get tripped up in the whole Bulldog mindset of yesteryears, right? Of when I was running these ultra marathons and I was just like super lean and jacked. And I mean, I'm still pretty lean and jacked, but just at the peak of what I was doing of my physical fitness. And for a lot of time in the last few years, I've been very disappointed in myself and feeling like, I need to either get back to that guy or I can't get back to that guy and I don't feel as good. And what I realized was that it's not about that guy. It's not about the specific physical accomplishments or makeup. It was always about just being the person who works hard and pushes through the pain. And that's what I really admired about that version of me, the Bulldog Mindset, John. And that doesn't ever have to change, right? The way in which I do that, right? Thankfully, this accident was such that I will be able to walk again. I will be able to run again. But what if it confined me to a wheelchair? Right? I mean, that is a reality. Like that could have been the case. That could be the case for anyone. Then I would get as good as I could, as strong as I could, my upper body, getting good at wheelchairing around, right? Building my endurance in that way, doing all these things to improve myself, if that were the case, right? And so that's what it's always really been about. And that's something that I've learned in this process, is that will never be taken away from me. I can always improve. I can always push further no matter what my circumstances is, right? So the circumstances does not define that for me. So anyway, I think that would be useful for you to just, to learn my lesson instead of having to learn it yourself by having things taken from you, is to, appreciate that what you have, but also to appreciate that you have the capacity always to improve, to grow, to become a better version of yourself. And it doesn't matter what that version is, right? So that version might look like a version of yourself. It depends on where you are. Maybe you're in perfect physical health in your 20s and you can get super jacked and you can run ultra marathons or whatever that is. And that's great if that's the case. But maybe you are disabled. Maybe you had an accident and maybe you are in a wheelchair. And that version of yourself, it's not going to look like the same as that 20-year-old kid who's got everything working, but it can still be an improved version where you're putting in the discipline and you have that mindset. Or maybe you're in your 70s, maybe you're older and you're not going to ever be running marathons or doing kind of crazy stuff, but you can still be going to the gym and improving your muscle tone and doing the things that are going to make you healthier, that are going to they're going to be, again, the same thing as pushing through pain, pushing through discomfort, which grows you and grows your character, right? So you can always do those things. And that's the thing that I had to learn from this whole process, is that I thought that being in a specific physical condition, being in a specific physical athlete or sport or capability was the thing that mattered. And that if I lost that, then I would lose that ability to perform. And that's not the case. It's the case that you always have that and you always have that ability. So if you haven't already joined the Bulldog Mindset membership, I think we're going to probably transition it over to WAP. We'll see what happens. At first I was going to do school, but I think WAP is probably the platform there. And I'll see you tomorrow.